So good morning, everybody.
Good morning.
Good morning.
I'm Marguerite Rigoglioso. Is somebody sitting here? Oh, all right, excellent. And welcome to this conversation and this opening to Mary and Jesus as being in the she lineage. So I'll be explaining today how I came to understand that. Maybe some of you, how many people are already aware of David Spangler's comments in this regard? Okay. So we'll go over some of that, and then I'll talk to you a little bit about my own explorations with this in preparation for this day. I was in ceremony, looking and asking about this, and then we will do some opening and play together, because really this is about everybody having your own relationship with any of these beings, as you know. So I'm here to help with that. Okay.
Hey, Marguerite, could I ask?
Yes.
Some people are like blocked, like the circle isn't
Can
really
you-
complete.
can you
we arrange things so that everyone can be part? At
Maybe
least part of the
Abby,
circle?
you can move your chair just a slight bit back there. I know
So
you've got
have
like a million things.
yeah.
You're welcome to just put that stuff down right here. So
We
you don't
may
have
be
to.
able to
There you
take the
go.
bench.
Yeah, just that
No, I
chair
think that's good.
in there.
Perfect.
We got a pair, not a circle.
Looks like you're not in any
You guys
more
feel
holes
it?
either.
Riona's here.
Hello, Fiona.
Okay.
She's
The keepers of
Okay.
Yeah, it's a spiral.
Welcome, everybody. So, what I think we will do is just start with a little grounding, which I always like to do, just so that we can get here presently. So, you're welcome to put both feet on the ground if you feel comfortable doing that. And you're welcome to either close your eyes or just have them cast down on the ground. And just take a deep breath in. And exhale. And another deep inhale. And exhale. And a third deep inhale. And exhale. And as you become aware of your breath, just become aware of your feet. And let your become aware of every place your body is touching the ground. Become aware of your abdomen. And become aware of the center of Mother Earth, which we can see as a molten iron crystal that's very large. Ask Mother Earth to receive your grounding, and just see that the whole circumference of your abdomen is like a stretchable tree trunk that you're dropping now through your seat, the ground, the many layers of the earth all the way to the core, and just see and wrap around the massive core of the earth 3 times and pull snugly.
Ooh.
And feel the energy of Mother Earth surging all the way up that grounding trunk, all the way up until it enters and blesses your root chakra, and just feel it blessing each chakra as it continues to flow up the central channel of your body and cascade out your crown, bringing a beautiful sphere of golden light all the way around you, all the way around your body, down around below your feet. We feel the grounding of our space by this beautiful pine behind us. And now becoming aware of a floating point 1.5 inches below your navel, which we're calling the Nada Bindu point. That is, connects your holy womb, if you are a womb-born woman, with the holy womb chakra of Mother Divine, and if you are a male-born man, it connects you back with your mother's holy womb chakra. So just feel that. Feel that point there as a seed of crystal and diamond light. And see that growing into an orb, a crystal and diamond orb of light in your belly, and feel it stretching down as a column of crystal and diamond light to your root, and as a column all the way up your central channel, and feel it going out your crown, out into the sky, out into the solar system, beyond the solar system, through space, all the way up to what we're calling the great central sun. We're seeing that as the Nada Bindu point of Mother Divine's Holy Womb Chakra, and just feel a return of the crystalline diamond light coming all the way down through that column, all the way until it enters and blesses your crown and each chakra to your root, and down below your root to your feet, and back up into your auric field. Good, and just feeling yourself coming into present time. Releasing down your grounding trunk anything that doesn't serve you right now. Anxieties, thoughts that distract, anything from before this time. And just feel that you are integrating and coming into the now. And gently open your eyes. Blessed be. Anna, did you want to come on? Yeah, great. Perfect. Welcome. Yay. We've made it. All right, so I wanted to just share a little bit about how this particular workshop came about, which is that last fall in September I was in Findhorn. Erin was there too, and there might have been some others of you. We went for the Subtle Worlds conference that was there. Really, really good. David Spangler and Jeremy Berg and Søren Haug and others were there, Judy McAllister. And in one of the breaks, I was talking to Jeremy Berg, and I said to him rather diplomatically that I had wished there could be a little bit more of the feminine energy coming through some of the things that were being taught. And he happened to just say, well, you know, David Spangler's guide, Marielle, it talks about the lineage of the Marys and how Mary was essentially a she being. And I just got chills and my eyes got big and they started watering, and he said, Guinevere is in that lineage too. And it was just like all of the threads of my life came together in that moment, you know, because the fairy thing had sort of been a little bit on the periphery, coming closer and closer in my life. And I'd been making overtures and communications and invitations and commitments, but it still was like, that's a nice thing for when everything else gets done, rather than understanding that, no, they're going to help me get everything else done, which, you know, probably a lot of you have had that experience. And I know we were talking this morning, right? Like, make them front and center and they make your life go a heck of a lot easier. And then there was, though, that mystical energy that I was working with of Christed Master and Blessed Mother and Magdalene, and the research I've done on virgin birth as an actual priestess practice. That's a whole other topic. And then my experiences around Guinevere and feeling like these great beings can have more than one incarnation or more than one emanation. And I was given to feel that I had been an emanation of Guinevere, you know, that there was something about her and me and her. And so all that came together, and even Jeremy started crying, you know, like he could just feel the energy of what was happening. And so I emailed David and I asked him, so what is this? So I'm going to read what he had originally written in his book from Marielle, and then what he extra commentary. And then I'm going to share what I received when I looked the other day. Okay? So he says, this is from his book, Conversations with the She, and this was a communication from Marielle, his guide, she guide. Many of us are more aligned with the feminine side of the sacred, and of these, there are those who respond to the light of the Marys. The Marian line of energy and service is actually older than that which manifested through Jesus, and extends back into the time when our races were one. We're still one. It is a line of energy of which I am a part, Marielle. Indeed, there is a legend among us that the mother of Jesus was of our lineage, that the blood of the she ran in her veins, so that Jesus became, in his personage, a reconciliation of our two peoples. The light and love of Christ works for the wholeness of all. So in this sense, it does bring our worlds together. And in our work, we seek a comparable objective. So we would see your Christ as our brother and co-worker. And as I say, there are those among our people who would seem Christ-like to you, though they do not carry the mantle and the burden of planetary redemption and wholeness. We recognize and honor the Christ in your lives. And to the extent Christ is a spark that lights the flame of your own sacredness, we are a breath to nurture that flame.
Whoa.
And then David said that about 2 hours after receiving the above, while he was out for a walk, Marielle came back with a postscript. And she said, "There are those among us, very ancient even for our race, who remember the man Jesus, and may even, if I'm not mistaken, have interacted with him. The story I am told is that he was a man, not unlike us in some ways, a man of joy and attunement to the world around him, particularly in his childhood and youth. Some of us, I am told, even acted as guardians of his well-being. This is not surprising. I have already told you of the tradition among us that his mother Mary was of a she lineage herself. So Jesus would have had she blood within him, if this tradition is correct, and I believe it is. But he was primarily of your race, for this is what his mission demanded. He was a crossroads in whom many roads of consciousness and life met and were brought into connection and wholeness. For wholeness is the essence of redemption, as I have said.
Wholeness is the essence.
Wholeness is the essence of redemption. So, healing, right? The coming together, the unification of opposites and seeming divergent things like Fae, like she and humans, and the Christian message and Jesus and the fairies. And so David went on to say, I think the salient point here is that Marielle is recounting a tradition of which she is aware and one in which she believes. That Mary was part of a she lineage, though this would not make her a she herself. So I had to read this wait, didn't she just say Mary was a she? But now David is saying, no, she's not exactly a she. He says it would be a line of energy, perhaps even a bloodline, that carried certain she qualities. What is important to realize is that this is my translation of what she was telling me, he said. Lineage was the word I chose to capture the sense of connectedness and participation that she was trying to convey. That Mary was part of something that the she are also part of, at least some of them. But this is different from saying that Mary herself, much less Jesus, was a she being, which is not what Marielle was saying. There is a current or line of energy representing certain sacred qualities and energies that is embodied by the various Marys of the Bible. Mary, the mother, Mary Magdalene, and I would add Mary Salome, these various Marys. The name is Miriam, okay? Miriam of the Bible, of the Hebrew Bible, and so forth. And by other women, which is also present within the she world. In this sense, I suppose it would be like saying that a woman is a nurse. There are Chinese nurses and American nurses, but being a nurse transcends nationality. To say a woman is a nurse doesn't also imply she is Chinese or American. So a being, she or non-she, human or non-human, man or woman, may be part of this Marian current and thus related, the way all nurses are related to each other. The idea that Guinevere was a she doesn't come from Marielle, but from Wendy Berg, no relation to Jeremy, who is a British writer who has written extensively on human-she relationships. I believe it is the core theme of her book, Guinevere and the Round Table, but she also discusses it, I think, in her excellent book, Red Tree, White Tree, Fairies and Humans in Partnership. So let's just take a moment to inhale all of that and let it come into us. The possibilities here of opening, of reconciliation. We think those of us who are in our families who are very Christianized in a programmed way and think we're nuts or doing things that are untrue or whatever it is. And yet there's unity. There's unity between us. And the she their healing unification energy is emphasized through this holding open to this possibility. So I'm just going to give you another moment before I move forward with what I received about this to receive in your own way. I'm going to ring the she bell. Those of us who are in Catholic Church remember them ringing the bells back in the day. So the bell unifies.
Where's the frankincense in here?
Exactly. Would have brought it, but it's complicated to do it.
You got the sage.
Yeah, right. So it took me a while to, absorb all this and then try to make sense of also what David was saying, right? And so I did a cacao ceremony last week to go in more deeply and see what was being said. And this is what I received. It's not either or, like either Mary and Jesus are she or they're not she. It's more like a strain of who they are is she-like. Okay? The strain of who they are is she-like. Jesus and Mary can come through many different lineages and strains and portals and star systems. So some people think Jesus and Mary are from Sirius. Some people think Jesus and Mary are from the Pleiades. Some people think all, and in a sense, it's all true because the universe is holographic, which means that there's a whole. And then how many people are familiar with the hologram, what a hologram looks like? So you've got all these different little tiny, tiny pieces within it, all of which look like the whole, the very whole of the thing. So it's like it's everywhere. The whole is everywhere. So if the universe is holographic and Jesus and Mary and that Holy Family is holographic, then they can appear anywhere and everywhere and in multiple forms according to what you resonate with. And this is actually a teaching that is in one of the Gnostic Gospels. And I talk about this. There's a course I did called Gods We Trust. that's online and available. And it's about Jesus, Dionysus, and Asclepius. And in that I talk about that particular Gnostic gospel. I can't believe that it's not more talked about, because basically it says, Jesus will appear to you exactly as you are. He'll appear to you. If you're a fundamentalist, he'll appear to you that way. If you're a punitive person, he'll appear to you that way. If you're a person of compassion, he'll appear to you that way. If you're she, he'll appear to you that way, right? So he's a unifier. So that's what this is all about. They go across cultures and timelines. This is why Mary could come in and become Mother Virgen de Guadalupe, right? Mm-hmm. Because she's resonating with the energy that was Tonantzin, that particular goddess, right? And so then they could be like, oh, we can get with what you're doing and not have to be in combat with you Spaniards coming into our land, right? So what I was shown is that to connect with them as she means you resonate with and see their she-like qualities in particular. So I said, oh, okay, well, let me do that. So I started looking, and what I was shown, and we're gonna do more of this together, okay? But this is just tidbits of what I was shown. What are the she-like qualities that they bring forth? Caretaking of the earth, all forms and creatures, caretaking, and being in harmony with the earth, being in harmony with all people, peace on earth, being guardians of the earth, being caring in general, caring and compassionate, a she quality, right? Which is why I think that many of us, and Michael Dunning yesterday was talking about them as the shining ones, which is a name that has been given anciently to the divine realm, the shining ones, like the deities. And it's like, wow, okay, he's actually calling them the shining ones, and I know that others have done so. That puts them on a pretty high level, right? So they are at that level of caringness, love, compassion. They are all about awakening, healing, and evolutionary consciousness, supporting evolutionary consciousness. So that's that energy that would come through Jesus and Mary if you want to see them as she. Awakening, healing, and opening to evolutionary consciousness.
I need a clarification. So are you speaking of Mary, Mother of Jesus, or Mary Magdalene?
Both.
Both.
Because Mary, Mother of Jesus, is a particular vibration of a woman who was able to bring through, in my belief system, a great being through her body. Mm-hmm. And Mary Magdalene would have been one of the women who then came into that lineage. She already had teachings of her own, and then she learned more and more teachings that were given by Jesus and so forth. And then she came into a specific type of relationship with Jesus. But what we're talking about there is the lineage of the Marys. And this is something that I have discussed previously, and it's very much connected to the divine birth mysteries. The lineage of the Marys, because when we look at, D.M. Murdoch has a book, Christ in Egypt, and she looks at the word Mary, Miriam, all those derivatives and so forth. And then she looks at the word in Egypt, which is MRY, or something like that, which meant beloved of. Beloved of. So, and it was a divine title. So how I see it is that the name Mary actually was a priestess title that meant beloved of. Okay, beloved of, loving, the one who loves, the one who is loved. And so all these women, why we have the name Mary so many times is because anciently they were part of this lineage of women bringing through she-like energy. Mysteries of divine birth, mysteries of holy womb chakra, the female mysteries, the mysteries of tantric union. And, then because there are legends that Mary Magdalene and Jesus had a child together. That was Sarah La Kali, and that there were lineages that went into France from this, right? Mm-hmm. So Mother Mary would have given birth to the avatar, and then Mary Magdalene would have commingled with the avatar to give birth to another lineage. Mm-hmm. Okay? Mm-hmm. What else are the she about that can be reflected through Mary and Jesus? Creativity. And also there's a refreshment and a lightness in Mary and Jesus as she. Okay, so contrary to the laden down image of a dying man that has become, the poster image of a religion. They are actually all about the lightness, the refreshment. And here's what, so in particular, Mary, her feminine essence, not her nun-like, habit that she was given, but her feminine essence, her connection with her own sexuality, sensuality, femininity. And similarly, and for Mary, they told me her laughter. So when you see Mary as a she, you can connect with her laughter. And I was like, never thought about Mary laughing. Gotta admit,
They didn't teach you that.
No, they didn't teach us that. Then they also showed me that part of this lightness is their dancing, their danceability. We even have in the infancy gospel of James, which is all about Mary's childhood, her birth and her childhood. She was divinely born too, of Anne, her mother, by the way, Hannah, according to this story. At 3 years old, Mary was presented to the temple. She was given away so that she could become a divine birth priestess and be raised by these virgin priestesses of the temple. And she danced on the steps of the temple. Mary danced. And then Jesus, what came through about the dancing was the wedding at Cana, the little vignette we have that Jesus turned water to wine. And they said to me, if that's not a wee bit of she magic, we don't know what is. I was like, okay, I get it. And they said, and whose idea was that? It was Mary's. She's like, just this once, let's have merriment, let's have the people be able to have their wine and loosen up and dance. So you could imagine Jesus dancing on that day, among others. So you can see their she qualities when you look at them from that perspective. It's like a prism or you're moving the crystal and then you see another angle, right? So you can see who they are as she when you move the prism and start looking from that perspective.
And it all feels so right, Marguerite.
Does
my
it?
Heart, everything you're saying, my heart is saying, just like sings and tears come to my eyes. It's
Isn't
so
it?
beautiful. Oh,
I know, it's like tears.
Such a healing.
It's such a healing. It's such a healing because, again, so many of us feel like we are outcasts, forget it, I can't deal with Christianity anymore, or I don't know how to reconcile these two things. And please come in. Are you okay? That's okay. Are you okay sitting or?
Yes, hello. Do you want to sit here?
Come, Joanne.
You're on this part with
The reconciliation is in the living, not in the
There's a
dying.
bench behind you.
Exactly. The reconciliation.
I could go on the bench if you
I mean,
I also wanted to say that whole story gives us an identification with victimhood.
Exactly. It absolutely does.
yeah.
I want to repeat that, what Janet just said, which is the reconciliation.
Sorry about that.
That's okay. Glad you're here.
My tip at this end. Do not get up without alerting me.
Yeah, because you'll be like,
Everybody has to
whoa.
announce.
Let's come more this way. If she comes more this way, we will be balanced. I don't know exactly what it is.
Oh, I think it's
It's very alive.
yeah, it's one of those things.
It's a big bug.
Yeah,
A
it's just a really big, maybe a cricket or something.
No, it's got wings. Wow, that's a young cicada.
A cicada.
It looks like a cicada.
Wow.
So 17 years from now, he'll be reproducing.
They're like, what's going on with all this cool weather?
Okay,
So
move
yes,
this way.
so the
we're gonna balance this thing.
reconciliation
We might have to touch each other.
of Jesus and the Fae, and Mary and the Fae, is in their living, not their dying. And that, that dying message is like such a huge program, right? First of all, it tells us that anybody who crosses the line is going to die in a horrible way, and that type of thing. So, and the healing, right? The healing. So, the other thing that started coming through about the dancing is that, and maybe many of you already know this, but this came through in a session that I was doing with a client who, I do these sessions to help people connect with their fairy essence or their fairy energy at times. And what came through was that the Irish jig is a fairy dance. Because in the other dimension, they can go way up because they're not bound by gravity. So they said, if you want to dance the jig properly, do it on a trampoline. And then you'll start getting the sense of what the she and the fairies go through when they do that dance. So all those dances, and they say, oh, we admire those on Earth who can go higher than some of the others. It's an art, like the river dance guy. Okay, he's way up there with that. So, and then, so Jesus not only turned water to wine, but he also healed the woman who was bleeding. So he stopped the blood as well, and I believe that her womb was bleeding, that that's what the bleeding was that was happening for her. She touched his hem and she was healed, right? Because, why? He was so connected with the Holy Womb Chakra. And this is another whole area of teaching that 2 summers ago I learned from Cindy Lindsay, who learned these teachings from a Swami Sri Kaleshwar, who is over on the other side now, but he gathered all of these palm leaf manuscripts synchronistically that were all about the teachings of the Holy Womb Chakra. And from them...
Are you saying holy wound or holy womb?
Womb.
Thank
W-O-M-B. Okay?
Thank you.
Yeah. But there's a relation there with both of them, right? I mean, that's what we're healing and reconciling also, right? Wound or womb. And that Sri Kaleshwar remembered his life with Jesus and the Blessed Mother. And so we were taught all of these teachings that Mary had, that hers was the most pure Holy Womb Chakra of all humans who ever walked the planet, which means that she was the highest level holy person ever who walked the planet. And she chose to give birth to another avatar who would kind of take more of the center stage and do that, the masculine work that he needed to do. But there were all of these mantras and practices, according to Sri Kaleshwar, that Mary would do at different times of Jesus' life in order to prepare him. And so he was very, very much connected with the Holy Womb Chakra. And so I think that that's why he was able to heal a uterine issue, right, for a woman. So these are some of the things that come through when we explore Jesus and Mary as she. The other piece that I wanted to mention that really connects them with the she is that they are very connected with the term viriditas, V-E-R, virid, I-D-I-T-A-S. And it may even be viriditas, V-I-R. This is a term that Hildegard of Bingen used. It's a Latin word meaning greening. Greening or lushness or, something like that. Hildegard of Bingen, who was a holy woman of the Middle Ages, and she was a plant woman. So I have a feeling she was getting a lot of her information from imbibing sacred plants, because she had these wild visions and then she would draw them and write them and do all this music and everything. So she talked about the greening energy of viriditas as being connected with the Christ energy. She was a Christian mystic, right? You can't get more fey than that. Viriditas. Okay, the green of all the plants. I mean, just take a look at viriditas all around us. And that allows us to connect with the juiciness of Jesus and Mary. The lushness of them, not the dryness, because we're given the dry bones of them in traditional Christianity. But this plumps them up You know, it opens them up. It
Juicy.
yeah, it makes them juicy again for us, and it makes them come into the now, and it tells us that they are not dead relics who can only be accessed through certain scripture lines and certain belief structures and rules that have been established around them. No, they're living, they're breathing, they're continuing, they're now, they're moving, they're growing, they're with us. So that's the other thing that happens for us when we start exploring them through the prism of them being she. So let's just take a moment to take some of that in. I'm just going to give you a few minutes just to reflect for yourself, and then I'll open it to some questions, but just reflect. What's being touched in you? I notice that for me, what I'm experiencing is the whole world suddenly popped into a deeper dimensionality that, like, Jesus and Mary suddenly inhabited all of the nature, where we are, all the nature sounds. It was like, wow, talk about a reconciliation and a coming together. Let's have some comments and some shares. Heather.
I love the Veritas connection, which I already mentioned. Oh, but what just flashed through my mind is it almost connects Jesus to, like, the Green Man.
Yes, right.
Pagans loved.
There he is. Didn't even think of it. Obviously,
Perfect. And
Jesus
that
is the
image
Green Man.
is in direct contrast to the dying Jesus on the cross that's been presented to us.
Yeah,
It's the Green Man. It's life.
the
and
tree that
love
lives, not
and-
the tree that's dead and
Right.
with doornails in it. You know. Yes.
There are many churches in Europe with Green Man images carved on the exterior of the churches. That's true.
Right.
And they planted the churches where all the pagan worship sites were anyway.
Exactly. Because they were kind
I was
of.
just trying to take paganism and set a set of rigidity around it.
Absolutely.
When the Essene, in my neighborhood, there's a monastery of Essenes. And
Fascinating.
Of what the Essenes?
the Essenes, where Miriam and Jesus are seen as equals, the spouses. That's why I asked for the clarification, which was a great one. And so Miriam and Jesus are seen as equals, and any images it's Jesus and Mary together. And there's no crosses. It's all about nature, and they have organic gardens and orchards and a farm, and it's a very beautiful
I
place.
love that. Well, there you go.
Where is that?
Yeah, where is that? It's in Oregon, in Lane County in Oregon.
So it's an active Essene?
It's an active Essene monastery.
Where is that? Where is that?
Lane County.
Lane County,
Where
Oregon.
is that? Where's Lane County?
It's in Oregon.
No, I know, but where?
Eugene. Okay, it's kind of where Eugene is the main town. It's kind of in the middle of the coastal region of Oregon.
Okay.
Wow.
Yeah, Willamette Valley over to the coast.
Gotcha.
They're going to get a whole bunch of new visitors now. They're not going to know what hit them.
No. Yes.
Yeah.
So it's that tradition very alive there. So I came to your workshop because I've just spent 17 days visiting my family in Australia, and my sisters and my brother-in-law are very Pentecostal Christians, and just started their own brand of Pentecostal Christian church. And I when I go to Australia now, I stay with them, and my spirituality is mostly channeled through sort of an eclectic yoga, fairy. I have a very broad concept of spirituality, and there is totally focused into Jesus is the dude. And
And one particular way of Jesus.
one particular
That's
way
it.
of Jesus.
You know.
Yeah. And so, but I know I kind of confuse them. They don't know quite where to put me, because I say, well, I just think we should practice forgiveness and and
Love.
and this and that, and they go, oh, well, they've just said it all, and my brother-in-law can't keep sermonizing at me because I just
Exactly.
sat them right in the middle.
Yeah.
But and then it's almost like, well, but how can you do that without Jesus? You know, it's like, well, because
Can you? Yeah.
direct connection. Why? And so, like, I don't know. I still feel, I kind of feel a little heretic though. So it's like, I don't need Jesus. No, it's not that I don't need Jesus. I just feel I have my own personal relationship.
Exactly.
But I think we all have the birthright to have direct consciousness, connectedness to the great divine spirit, or whatever nomenclature you want to give it.
Yeah.
Because they say, oh, but we know the truth, and it's all we call it the Holy Spirit. Like, well, it doesn't make it more holy because you call it a different name. It's like,
Exactly.
so I'm just throwing that in the mix.
Yeah. Beautiful. All right.
I
Let's. The young woman. Yes.
So, a couple of things. I was raised Unitarian Universalist, which is essentially a New Age hippie religion, but it's not actually. If you trace the lineage of it, I really enjoyed at the beginning you were talking about how Jesus was more human than he was of other. Essentially, like, basically, the way that my church was basically a group of pagans, kind of like what you're talking about. But we like put on this guise of like, we're a church. We have a building where we all talk about how much we love nature. You know, it became very, it came out of the transcendentalist movement, you know, and so that's all like Longfellow and Emerson and all those guys, and Louise May Alcott and other writers. But Emerson in particular was very adamant that Jesus was a man, and he kept preaching about that to the point that he was considered a heretic. And he wrote this beautiful piece called the Divinity School Address. If anyone ever wants to read something from him, that's probably his most powerful essay, where he just kind of like lays it out. He's like, if Jesus wasn't human, then why are we all trying to emulate him? Because otherwise it would be out of our possibility, like it would be out of the realm of comprehension for us. to use him as a role model.
Right.
And it's really a beautiful essay about how what's human about Jesus is what made him the figure that he was. Even like he had to be a human.
Yeah, he had to, because he was trying to help us evolve ourselves into that.
Yes.
You know, and yesterday Michael Dunning was having us do an exercise, and maybe some of you were there or have done this with him more extensively, where he's having us reverse ourselves out, like reverse our heart out and go out and meet the mountain, have the she of the mountain come back. And what I got is that, they're teaching us how to go back to our old way when we were she. You know, so it's like Jesus, in a way, was doing that same thing.
Yeah. So that was sort of what I was thinking about, through this. And I definitely have had, my own relationship, because I was raised that way, that Unitarians especially, they see Jesus as a really important person, and I've had moments in my own spiritual practice where I feel like I've been spoken to or visited by Jesus, and they're always really intense. He's a beautiful light being. So I love the way that this does bring it to, that's like, because it is hard to reconcile, just because of socially the way that we've put things in categories.
Yeah, absolutely.
And during the meditation, sort of random other side thought, but I felt talking about Mary was so nice too. She always gets left out.
Yes.
And I felt such a strong connection with my womb just now.
Yes.
We were meditating.
Yes.
Like, ooh.
Yeah, and we're gonna do a little bit more of that. So let's hear a few more comments.
Marguerite, speaking of the womb, when you were talking about the green man on the churches, I was reminded that on a lot of Irish churches there is the Sheila na gig.
Yes, there it is. There is the womb. True. The holy womb chakra right there in your face.
What is that called?
The Sheila na gig, which is...
There's nothing more in your face.
Nothing more in your face than a squatting female opening her vagina like this. That's it.
I've seen it.
And it's so surprising that it's there, but then again, it's not, because like unconsciously and or consciously, these Masons, whatever they were doing. And I just, so we come to the image of the Venn diagram, right? Remember that in, grade school? The two circles that then come together, and then the Venn diagram, which incidentally is the Christian symbol, right? And it has the line that goes through. So what we're doing is the Venn diagram, when we're coming in contact with people who are of a different type of Christian faith, you can put all the stuff we're talking about in here of how we can get along. Like, where's our common ground? Our common ground is in the mandorla, the almond. That's what Jesus was in. You know that image of him, like as the almond, and he's right in that thing. You see those two things, right? So he was the unifier, the Vesica Piscis.
Is it the Vesica Pisces?
Yeah, you can either call it Vesica Pisces or the Vesica Piscis. There's the two circles that come together and then have like that almond shape in the middle.
There's the chalice too. You can't quite miss that one, and that's in every Christian church, at least on any days that they're doing communion. And pretty much, I just feel that Christians are a little bit confused, and we should just be gentle with them. They want you to have the personal relationship with Christ, like Mary Gold was talking about. They just are a little nervous that maybe you're not doing it right. That's all.
Right. Well, the other thing, and the other thing I want to bring in here is the concept of programs. And there are beings that are associated with those programs. So those beings have definitely taken over the Christian message, and they are running the show. And that's why you could be with a Christian person who is like, I want to kill all people that are Muslim, I want to do this and that, because there are these intense programs and entities running through some of these.
That really resonates.
Okay,
Yes.
That's what's going on when it's like, why can't we all get along? Oh, because they've got entities that are programming them in that direction. And I'm working with these beings over here, and those entities are fierce protectors of what they're doing, because they get a lot of food from people. They get a lot of
fear.
through the fear, through the violence, through the repression that they eat people's repression. They eat anything that it happens to a person when they get programmed in a Christian way. There are entities that eat that. So they are fostering that, trying to keep that alive, and that's why it's hard to not get along with other people, because it's not just the people. There's lots of other beings that are going on. So this is another layer and level of understanding of what, this is Jesus. I mean, he was in the desert for 40 days, according to that story. What was going on there? I mean, he was working with these entities. He was really working hard around them.
Question.
Oh, yes.
You touched on this in the first half hour. I missed that. First of all, I just felt them embodied like you did in all the greening here, all the greening everywhere, just plumped up. And I feel like whether it's a true, actual story or not, that doesn't make them not real. Every time there's been some discovery of something more, the truth, resonate with me as the truth about Mary Magdalene, Jesus, and Mary. I just weep. I feel like I was there. I was part of it. It's like I don't even all my life, even as a young child, Jesus Christ Superstar, I was devouring that album and I went to it live in London at 17. I just absorbed it, and I did not enjoy my Christian upbringing at all. So to me, Mary Magdalene was Christ's beloved.
Yes.
So I don't know if you touched on that.
A little bit.
And when Tom Kenyon's channeled Mary Magdalene for the first time, he was, he's a healthy channel skeptic, and his wife had really been researching the trail of doubt back to where maybe Mary Magdalene lived in Marion, and it was so pure. It's so pure and beautiful. I just wept through the whole thing. Like they speak about her as this deep surrender to knowing she was going to lose him, but it was the deepest kind of love we could all have. And so it resonated such truth with me. I don't know if you've read that Mary
the Magdalene manuscript. Yeah, I'm aware of it.
And he's over in Orcas, I think, or San Juan Island.
Yeah, he's kind of.
Yeah, and coming from him, it was a really trusting, but it was more my own inner knowing. And so, did you touch on Mary Magdalene in any of this?
A little bit earlier.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, just that she's part of a lineage of the Marys. And if you get on my mailing list, you'll get the recording, so you can hear back.
Okay.
Yeah. Oh, yes. And
So I had just a slightly different, when you were talking about veritas, I don't know Latin, but I speak Portuguese, and I thought, that root word means truth.
Yeah.
So I was like, truth.
Yeah.
And then during the meditation, it was just kind of, but then when I went to my heart, then I really connected, and once again, I also, so many tears come. I don't understand it. I don't understand why when I connect with love. And the other thing I wanted to share is I taught Kundalini Yoga for a while, so I studied a lot of Sikhism. And when I would study it, it sounded so much like the divine message that Christ brought. Just that we're all one, we're all love, that's the truth. And I don't know, I just love it when all those things come together.
Absolutely, that's what it's all about.
And the heart, though, is the way I connect with Jesus.
And that is ultimately what we're dealing with here and what we're moving toward, what it's all about, I think. Simple, to get it down to its simplest essence, love, heart, compassion. That unifies everything. And also love, I'm shown, unifies all dimensions. And it is the best deflection mechanism for AI. Because AI can't really live in an atmosphere of love. artificial intelligence, which is creeping into our world, which is a whole other topic, but Michael Dunning did touch on it yesterday. And it is an existential threat that we're facing. So, yeah, that's a whole other topic. Oh, next year, fairies and AI. We'll have that one, okay? You heard it here.
Mike is doing a bit of it this afternoon.
Is he? Oh,
Yeah,
good.
it's gonna
Oh,
be
good.
part of this afternoon.
Excellent. Two. Firelight, and then you. And then we'll have to, I want us to just move into another. Firelight? Yeah.
My experience was interesting. So I grew up in an atheist household, so I really have no context for any of the stories, but but I was in the meditation. I was really connecting with what I am experiencing as where my womb would be, and I've been doing a lot of work around how much I've forsaken that part of myself in my life. But where that went was the story of apocalypse and the birthing of a new world, and the grief that may have been held by Mary and Jesus at that time, knowing that for the next 2,000 years, how much suffering would be necessary to bring that world into the light.
Thank you for sharing that.
Beautifully put. Yeah.
Thank
And
you
here
for
we
your
are at the
compassion.
tail end of that.
Yeah, and every time we go for our higher selves and aim to be in the love and the compassion, and then we're met with that programming, it's like, oh God, here it is again. What do I do? How do I stay non-reactive? How do I get back into my heart and just be neutral? All right, one last comment before we go into our...
So when during that meditation or that little break, I don't know the wording of the phrase, the passage in the Bible, but all I kept hearing from both of them is where Jesus was saying, "Do not worship me, do what I do."
Exactly.
Showing like we are all capable of this. He was just here to show us how this human body can light up and do what he's done.
Absolutely. He's a brother.
Right. And with her, it was also just such love and compassion, and just like we're all capable of this.
Definitely. That's what it's about. Teeny tiny?
I do teeny.
Okay.
So the AI thing brought it up. Those energies are being carried by the Hartman, Becker, and Curry grids, which are kind of a lower level grid that surrounds the Earth and carries the energies.
Wow.
So if you take the time every day to send love into Hartman, Curry, and Becker grids, and identify those and send,
What are
5-10 minutes worth of love into those, it'll improve the energy field around your house, but it also will go out and serve everybody. And so you were talking about
excellent.
The antidote to AI
Yes.
being love.
So let's go in then. Let's go in, and we're going to start with that, and then we're going to move out into an exploration of this birthing of the new world, the new earth. Literally the new earth. So yes, if you wish, you can close your eyes, or you can just cast your eyes down, whatever feels more comfortable. Connecting back in with the viriditas all around us. The truth. Feeling our grounding and our connection with the great central sun. Feeling our golden light around us and around this group. And we are now inviting Blessed Mother and the Christed Master to come in their she valence. In their she valence. And let them show you now they're going to reveal something to you personally, individually. That is going to awaken something further within you today about your own she nature, your own she valence. Such that you can become more like they are. Just let that happen now. And now bring to them some matter of your life that you need guidance on. And ask them to assist you through this connectivity with the she realm. And receiving guidance or solutions to this matter for yourself. And as you're seeing them as she, you can, if you want, invite one or both of them to slowly merge with you so that your vibration matches theirs. Their vibration lifts yours up. On every level of your being. Feel them in particular working with your heart chakra. And feel your heart chakra, your heart flipping inside out so that the inner becomes a sheath on the outside. And that mountain we've been looking at the end of our meadow, just feel your heart, the edge of your sheath, of your membrane, going out to meet the Fae, the She, on the mountain, the shining ones. And let them know that you're here, that you're available for the great work of birthing the new earth. And ask them to show you one thing that you can do to help birth the new earth. Now, the beautiful woman who spoke of the 3 grids, would you name the first grid that you would like us to send love to?
Hartman.
Hartman. Heartman. We're sending our love to the Hartman, Heartman grid. And now the next grid.
Curry.
Curry. Sending our love to the curry grid. And now the next grid.
Banker.
Banker. We're sending our love to the grid of the banks. Now, if there are any questions just from this mindful place that you would like me to open to responses about from these messengers, Just speak your question out loud and let's see what comes through.
I am here to transform my doubts. Whenever I think about the she, oftentimes this like doubt comes in and it shuts me down. And when I came into this circle and you're talking, Marguerite, my doubt goes away. And so I guess I would like guidance about how I can keep that.
Yes.
Keep that openness and
right.
to that.
Yeah. So you, first of all, you have a lot of she valence in your body, like even our hybrid, and so you can keep looking in the mirror and understand that you are of that lineage yourself, and begin to claim that. And I think working with Rihanna here would be a good idea for you in that regard. And there are can I be a little personal on this one?
Oh,
okay.
Yeah,
So just about some karma there. There's some Christian father energy in your lineages that you're looking to heal out, like some Protestant type of energy that got really programmed in, and you've had lifetimes as clergy in that, and so you're in this lifetime to like release that, take what was good from it, release the rest. And so this working with Jesus as she, I think could be really a really helpful entry point for you, like getting a green man in your house and then just reading about the she so you understand cognitively more and more about them, and then you can start working into the exercises about how to connect with them more and more. So that's just a brief thing for you. And I can look at a few personal questions, or I can look at more global questions as well. So let's have another one come through.
Where can I go in this world to connect more with the people who are studying light conception in these ancient ways?
Well, let's talk afterward, because that's some of the work that I've been doing. And yeah, we should just talk, okay? Because that's your quickest route to that, yeah. But yes, there are women and men who are awakening to all of the light conception processes, and some of it is being done on the planet right now and to varying levels. So yes, it is a form of birthing the new earth, actually, yes. Okay, other questions?
I have a question. During the meditation, it took a while to get up into the more lightness, and it was very beautiful, but I noticed that somehow there's this attraction to the denseness, and I don't know if it's just because I haven't practiced enough, but it feels like there's a lot of denseness and I can get to the light, and sometimes music and singing to God helps. But I wanted some comments on that relationship between getting into the light and getting into the denseness, getting into the light.
You can use it like an elevator. When you're finally able to get up into the light, you can pull it down into the denseness. And you can use that as an activity that you do for like 5 minutes a day or something of that nature. That would be a really good practice for you. And there may also be some grief that you're wanting to heal or release It could be from this lifetime or the other lifetimes, the Native American lives. And that will also help with the lightening up. So you can work it emotionally as well as energetically.
And song?
Yes, that would be good. Song is always good. Dancing is always good. Any of the arts are meant to lift up our spirits. And you don't have to be an artist to do them. Just doing them naturally.
I'd like to know about sacred womb healing.
So I'll refer you to the work of Cindy Lindsay and her Holy Womb Chakra System class, which is online, which you can take. It'd be very worth your while. And there are women who are doing a lot of hands-on and womb healing. Finding those practitioners would be good for you. I don't have somebody off the top of my head, but I feel like you're wanting to learn some tools. The other one I mentioned is a mantra-based system, but what you're also wanting is a really just pushing down on your womb, just releasing. Pelvic massage. Women who do pelvic massage would be good for you, just to get more and more into your own womb. That's a very quick answer.
And it's my sense that the Jivic realm is greatly guiding an aspect of the climate change. And the Pleiadians have said so. I'm curious what comes through around that.
Yeah, with climate change, it's like, because we're in duality, it's always both and. So there's an aspect that's being guided by dark forces or negative forces. There's an aspect that's being guided by elevated forces. And I wouldn't necessarily say they fight, but there's a dynamic tension between the two of them. Because the negative forces would like us to use this to totally become annihilated. And the forces of awakening would like us to use it to become awake. And to come awake to the she world, which is the Fey world, which is the natural world, right? So it's sort of a both and dance. And so using what you're perceiving about climate change to motivate you to make practical acts and group actions, but also to continue to do your spiritual work of awakening about the reality of the she, and working with them in partnership, like Rihanna is going to be doing later today. The more you can really work with them in partnership, the more you will be guided. You'll have your answers of what to do around climate change. And this is personal, and it's also collective. And it is part of a collective awakening. And notice that it's not coming. Okay, there have been some cataclysms in some places in the world, cataclysmic weather things. By and large, though, it's kind of coming a little more slowly to give us a chance. We're like, wait, it's summer, why does it feel like winter? And so it's like seeing the signs and being able to say, yes, this is happening, everyone can agree, this is weird. And so then moving into what you need to do around that, continuing the awakening work with your fairy allies, your she allies, is just very, very important, because they will revolutionize and transform your life in a joy-based way. That's the other thing. So, yes, we become afraid with all of that, but they will move us in a joy-based way. So that's what they're all about. And it just this cataclysm doesn't have to be a disaster. It could be a true awakening. And it might be different things for different people at the same time.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, we'll do one more.
I've suffered at the hands of the darkness in my life, and I'm curious how I can find compassion, because I know that all things are one.
You're already in that process of doing it, coming to things like this, being how you are in the world with kindness. It's a process of continuing that road and also filling your well. We're more able to be compassionate in the face of opposition, even violent forces, when we have our well filled. And so the more you can take the time to be rested and well fed, and the more patience, compassion, and neutrality you will be able to have in the face of things coming toward you or in your orbit. And so that's just a beginning question. I mean, a beginning answer to your question, but you're on the right path already. And so just continue to do things that foster your own sense of loving kindness, your own sense of fun and joy, openness, connectivity with the Fae, and it will be a process for you. Yes, it be. All right, so let's just all feel our bodies and our feet. And take a deep breath in. And exhale. Now our last thing we're going to do is so hopefully this will work. You have all the gadgets. You have all the gadgets, even the bush. It's great.
It's so perfect that you're pulling pine cones out.
Or pine needles. It is totally great. So, okay. I'm inviting everybody to stand and just get a little room for yourself.
Okay, I'll stay in the middle.
You're safe.
You can go behind. Well done, people. Behind, whatever. Let's see if this is going to work.
Supposed to move that way?
I can feel rhythm.
All right. So, this is jig music.
Oh, yeah.
So I'm inviting you to just...
Get jiggy.
Get jiggy with it?
How, you might have to get out of the tent in case you jump really high. No bars.
So, thank you all very, very much for coming.
So what?